This week's episode of Joshua 2415 Outdoors is brought to you by our wonderful affiliates, Christian Bowhunters of America, Blackout Coffee Company, Monster Bass, Academy Sports and Outdoors, and Striking Viking Beard Oil. Be sure to check out the links in the description provided below. Welcome to Joshua 2415 Outdoors, proudly in partnership with Christian Bowhunters of America. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Joshua 2415 Outdoors, where we are more than thrilled to be here with you doing another podcast. Anything you want to share there, Mr. Comer?
Oh man, I'm just tickled to be here. You know, you got off work and you came to my place here in Southern Illinois, and we're sitting on the porch and drinking coffee, and the sun's coming up, and you know, we're working into early fall, late summer. One of my favorite times of the year.
100%.
This as it gets daylight, the squirrels are starting to cut hickory and are sampling. And you can hear the nuts hitting the ground out here, and see some limbs bouncing. I don't know. It's just a beautiful morning to be sitting out here with you, buddy.
I can't. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be doing the podcast again. Super excited for fall.
Yes, sir.
Very excited for the 2024 hunting season. Cannot wait to get my trail camera out this morning. Start seeing what I can getting that pre-season prep as we talked about last episode.
Absolutely.
Getting that in. Probably going to scout a little bit too while I'm there. See, look for a sign. See if anything's been around the area and what area they're in. I have, like I mentioned also last episode, been on that treadmill.
Yeah.
Trying to get some steps in and prepare for a deep hike into the woods.
Well, you just gotta find what they're doing. You know, at this time of year, the good thing is, you know, the basic bedding area from that huge thicket that's on that piece of public.
Which I think is fair to assume that's where they're bedding.
Oh, that's where they're bedding.
It's thick. It gives them security, and they know how to navigate it.
Yeah. They're going back to that each day, and then they're coming out into those big flats at night. You know, there's no telling what they could be traveling a ways from there. If there's crops anywhere, they could be traveling to that, or they could just be eating grass. But it's not going to be all that long now. Well, your season comes in 4 weeks, something like that, over in Kentucky.
Oh, I can't wait.
It won't be that long on into October before the acorns start to fall, and then, you know, you'll be able to. That's the thing, you know, in that big bottom area where you're at, you've got so much hardwood, and I know when we were there were so many oak trees scattered throughout the place, and to find those best white oak acorn trees that they're going to go to when the acorns first start to hit the ground. And that's going to take just walking and finding which ones they're using, and then just rotate with them as they finish up with that tree and move on to other ones. You know, find an area and get set up on it. If you could find you a really good white oak grove, you know, that had multiple mature white oak trees, and go ahead and set up on that and be ready for when the acorns start to fall, I think you'd be in really good shape.
I'm going to set a mock scrape as well.
That would be a really good idea in that location. Find you that white oak grove and go ahead and build you a mock scrape and get that started, and get it started right there. Because, you know, if you find a good enough grove of white oak acorn trees with mature trees, the sheer number of white oak acorns that's going to fall right there could keep deer hemmed up there for quite some time. So if you have your mock scrape there too, you're
that's like a bonus. It
is a bonus. And they're going to spend so much time there because of the scrape and the acorns. You're making a place for them to come back to throughout the entire season.
Creating a sanctuary outside of their sanctuary. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to make a place that they're going to come to not only eat, but to socialize and to see who's here. Then the bucks are going to be coming back into it to breed, look for those. It's just going to be an amazing opportunity to start right there.
Yeah, I can't wait to get things set up. I can't wait to get a camera out there, find a good spot, get the mock scrape started, set up the camera, and wait and see what comes to that dear Facebook of a mock scrape.
And it's not going to take long at all. If when I set my first one up for the year last week, it's almost 2 weeks ago now, because I set it up the day before surgery. And they're at that scrape
constantly,
morning, evening, midday, nighttime. There is deer coming back and forth to that scrape off and on 24/7. And it'll do the same thing for you when the deer find that scrape.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to that. With that said, speaking of fall's the transition of a season from summer to fall. We're approaching that very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
And what better way to talk about the changing of the seasons than with Scripture?
Absolutely. And
I understand you have a particular Scripture.
This is not really, let me just read it to you. This was just in my reading for this morning. And I've always liked reading Proverbs, whatever chapter for whatever day it is. And so today was the 8th of August, and I just pulled up Proverbs chapter 8 when I came out here at 5 o'clock this morning to sit on the porch. And out of the entire chapter, what really got into my head and into my heart was starting in verse 32. And now, O sons, listen to me. Blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear instructions and be wise, and do not neglect it. Blessed is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. For whoever finds me finds life, and obtains the favor from the Lord. But he who fails to find me injures himself, and who hates me loves death. When I read that, I think about a father's instructions. And in verse 32, and now, O sons, listen to me. Blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear my instructions, be wise, do not neglect it. I think about when a father tells his kids something, that it's going to be a life lesson, something, and it could be any kind of life lesson. It could be whatever, rebuilding a motor, to something to do with hunting and fishing, how to treat your wife, anything.
A number of
things. But when a father gives instructions to his child, especially to his son, those are things that are meant to not only help that person, but instill value in the wisdom that comes with that, so that could be shared further down the road and make an impact in somebody's life. And more so, when God is giving us instructions, it is so much more valuable than anything that a human father could ever give to a child. because the instructions that God gives us are the most valuable instructions that we could ever get. And then we need to take those, and we need to embrace those, and we need to utilize those and live those instructions out.
Yes.
I know, we was talking earlier before you started recording, we was talking about you praying with the boys every night before you go, before you leave for work.
Yes.
And, I mean, can you imagine what that is meaning to those young men right now? I mean, yes, they're young boys, and maybe they do not get the full scope of what's happening right now, but that is going to be something that they're going to remember as adults, that their dad came and prayed with them before he went to work every night. And he spent that time sharing the most intimate moment that you can have, praying to our Heavenly Father with your own children. And them boys are going to remember that. And hopefully that is going to lead them to a life of faith and service to God themselves.
I hope so. And I pray for that too. So going back into the changing of the seasons, I had a verse that I want to share that Paul talks about when he, in his epistle or letter to the Galatians, in Galatians 6:9, he says, "Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not." And this verse is simply a reminder that what is sown in one season will be reaped in another. So I think it's a good reminder that and even Solomon tells us in Proverbs about a time and place for different things.
Correct.
And I think this kind of follows up on that with the changing of the seasons. What you sow in one season, you'll reap in the next. So things take time. And he tells us not to grow weary in well-doing, because which is easy to do because you don't see the fruit of that immediately.
Correct.
You don't always see the fruit of that immediately, and it doesn't come that day. It can. It generally doesn't work out like that.
Right.
It may not come the next week, month, or even that year, but in the next season, you will reap what you have sown. Eventually, that will come back to you. I think that's a strong message in today's time.
It is, and having to wait is not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I planted the tomatoes in April, and now we are in August, and I'm just now in August starting to take ripe tomatoes off the vines. So you had April, May, June, July before the very first red tomato ripened on those vines was in late July. Now in August, I think we only took 5 or 6 off yesterday. It's still not a bountiful harvest, as you'd say, yet, but the bountiful harvest is coming, and
in due season.
So these small quantities of things that are ripening right now are just a prelude to what's coming. And when we see God doing what we consider small things in our lives, or we see small things happening in our lives, we need to realize that those seemingly small things are leading up to something that we cannot even fathom in our own mind. I remember I heard and I'll probably say this wrong, randomly I heard on the radio one time, and it was a biker church that came on, and I started listening to it. And the man talked about we we have a natural mind trying to understand a supernatural God. A natural mind cannot understand a supernatural God.
And you don't want it to.
You don't want it to. If we could understand it, that would mean we would be equal to him. We're not equal to him. We need to take what he is doing for us and we need to accept it, and we need to move forward with it. We need to appreciate it. We need to thank him for it. And we need to let our lives be built on the foundation of Jesus Christ and move forward and let him do with our lives what he wants to do with our lives. Because if we do, then our lives will be the most fulfilling that they could possibly be.
They will be fruitful.
Yeah.
In that season.
Yes. Yes.
I think your imagery of the tomato, the plant, tells a different story in terms of, the changing of the season, planting seeds in that time. Like we talk about, having the waiting is not always a bad thing. When you plant the seed in someone else, whatever it may be, really, whether that would be about your faith or any number of positive things that you may lay on that person, it may not take right off the bat. And you get to watch that seed grow in them and see the change that happens depending on what that is, especially if it's telling them about Jesus and just living a life that displays Christ to them through you. They may not have an immediate change or even feel anything about that, but over time, the more you plant that seed, you get to watch that grow. Like you do, like you would your tomato plant. You get to see that grow step by step, and it kind of gives you joy.
Yeah, and that was in the short run. That was something like tomatoes that is going to produce in the same year, not necessarily the same season, but the same year that they were planted. As I sit here, a better example to me is my pear trees and my apple trees. Well, the apples are already gone, but I do still have some pears on here. But those pear trees were planted for 5 years before they started to produce.
Takes time.
5 years. Now, those pear trees, I guess a couple of them are 25 foot high, maybe 30 foot high. Probably close to 30 foot high, that tallest one. When I planted those pear trees, they were maybe 7 foot tall. And they were not very big around. Now they're as big around as the top of my leg at the bottom. They're full of pears last year and this year. Now, a lot of the pears are gone already. Wildlife takes most of my fruit, my peaches. I had a lot of peaches, and in one night, the raccoon just completely took every peach off of it at one night.
God.
It's taken years. We're not talking about just a couple months for tomatoes. It has taken years for these to go from just a tree sitting in the ground to a tree that is producing fruit. Things take time. And some of the sweetest things we will have in life take the most time to produce fruit. So at the end of this, I would like for you to take a picture of a pear tree and a pear as cover art for this.
Yeah, I like that.
To show,
Can we put the turkey target and the deer target in there too?
You can if you want to. But, that just shows that stuff does not just boom. When I planted those trees, I knew there was going to be time involved before it was going to be something that was a bountiful harvest that we could go out and we could just pull a pear off the tree or pull an apple or a peach off the tree. And, this after all of this time, this was the first year that my peach tree was completely loaded after all of this time. And we did not get one ripe peach off of it because the raccoons took it off.
Gosh.
We've waited all this time, and I'm not even upset about it because you know what? That is a very healthy tree, and I know next year
You'll have them
God
back.
will fill that tree again.
Yep.
Now, I may have to kill the raccoons between now and then, but God's going to take care of it.
Yeah. He has a way to do that.
Yeah.
He has a way about him that he gets that done. Oh.
Man, it's just beautiful out here this morning.
It is.
This cool front has come in, and
It's making me really look forward to fall. I love hoodie weather.
I do too. And the opportunity to sit in a tree in hoodie weather, and I've really been thinking about sitting in a tree and just watching life happen.
Yeah.
Especially listening to the birds that are out here this morning. This is about as close to being in a tree as you could get.
While you're waiting on that deer to step in.
Yeah.
Which is not quite like catfishing. It's much better, actually, because you know what you're getting. Catfishing, it's a little. I'm just kidding. No, actually, it's funny because I've been wanting to go catfishing again so bad.
Well, I tell you, I'm eager to go fishing, but I'm still quite a ways away from being able to do something like that.
So you got some.
My fishing is probably basically over for the year. I don't know that, but I am. My main thing right now is getting healed from this surgery and prepared for the next. Huh?
I'll get you a wheelchair.
I bet you would, and push me in the wheelchair.
I would not.
That pushed me right off the ledge.
Fish you right back out. Oh goodness.
No, I've really been thinking about ultralight fishing the last several days. It's really been on my mind. Catching some big, hand-sized bluegill and crappie and bass and.
I'm sorry. Did you say bass?
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as it's on ultralight. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it is more of a fight with an ultralight, especially. So long as you don't, I don't know, break it.
Well, if you're not going to try to hog him in and you just set your drag and play the fish, and that's the thing. When I bass fish, I like to fight the fish. And if you're ultralighting on bass, you can't fight the fish. You have to play the fish. And,
I don't like to do that. I lose a lot of bass because I try to power them in.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work like that all the time.
I don't know. I would like to go fishing when I get to the point that I can feel good enough to go fishing. And I feel amazing compared to what I was prior to surgery.
That's good.
But I've got to get a whole lot more stable on my feet before I'm going to be trying to walk around a pond. Because I don't think if I fell down, I don't think I could get back up.
Yeah, not a good idea. Not a good idea at this point.
It's all in due season. It's just like we've been talking about.
You got that right. Wow. Look at you. Just leading right into that.
Leading right into it. It was just right there. It was just waiting to be plucked out of the sky.
One might say it was low-hanging fruit. We got the dad jokes coming back. We were talking about fruit trees and now.
Oh Lord!
I gotta cue up the drum.
I'm going to call a horsefly in here to bite you now.
I hate horseflies with a burning passion.
I know you do, and I know there's a lot around here that I just need to figure out how to get to come on the days that you're here.
Oh, I'm sure you can find a way to attract them over here. Oh gosh, yeah. Well. So anyways, I guess we'll get to where we start to wrap this up. If you got anything else, go for it.
Yeah, well, I just want to go back to the scriptures that we used today. And I want to encourage me, encourage anybody that's listening to this. I want to reread these. And it was Proverbs chapter 8, starting in verse 32. And now, O sons, listen to me. Blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear my instructions and be wise, and do not neglect it. Blessed is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But who fails to find me injures himself. All who hate me love death. Guys, we need to encourage people to seek the Lord, and seek his wisdom. And then when he is sharing with us that wisdom, take and apply it to our lives, especially in the times that we're living in now. Now, we should do it all the time, no matter what the times that we're living in.
Yes.
But things are so messed up right now. It's unlike anything that any of us have ever seen before, as far as in our time.
Definitely in my 34 years of life.
Yes. I mean, really the closest you could come, I think, to what the world is doing right now is to go back to what happened with Sodom and Gomorrah. And I truly believe that. I think that we are living in times that are mirror image, maybe even worse than that. And if God did what he did then we would be foolish to think that he would not be willing to do that again. And we really need to be leaning on the wisdom of God and living that wisdom out and taking what he says and share it with others to lead as many people to Jesus Christ as we possibly can before that trumpet sounds and the time is no more.
I agree.
And that's all I got.
That was very good scripture to lead this one off today. And then the changing of the season and looking forward to that. Just makes you, speaking of, what's going on in the world and stuff, especially in this country, it makes you try to look forward to brighter days.
Yeah.
I mean, I have hope. A lot of people don't. A lot of people dim and gloom. That's not me. I don't feel like that's the case necessarily. And like you said, though, can he do that? Yeah. Is he opposed to that? No.
Yeah.
I'm going to cling to brighter days and a better future for this country and hopefully the world.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And with that, I think we will conclude unless you have anything else.
No, let's wrap it up for this week.
We will wrap it up for this week, and we will catch you in another one next week. But before we go, I want you to remember one more thing. It's check out blackoutcoffee.com. Get you some coffee today. Use the promo code that'll be linked in the description to get 20% off your first order. Also, if you haven't done so yet, please check out christianbowhunters.org, which will also be linked in the description. Consider becoming a member. Give them a check out. Consider starting your own chapter if you feel like you can, if you feel led to do so. But just check that out. Check out the rest of the affiliates that will also be linked in the description.
Yeah.
And we appreciate y'all. And maybe sometime soon we'll hopefully get Merle from Christian Bow Hunters.
We've just got to do it. He's willing. We just got to do it.
And we'll hopefully be able to interview him. I really want to hear from him and hear his side of Christian Bow Hunters.
Yeah.
Thank you again for joining us this week. And we'll see you next week. God bless you. And